It was like remember when everyone started having ChatGPT write their LinkedIn posts? It's just like M dashes everywhere. Everyone's like, cold email's dead, or, I unlocked blah, blah, blah. Like it was all the same thing as everyone's like, oh, dude, it's weird. Everyone writes the same way now.
Welcome back to the High Ticket AI Systems Podcast. Everyone, please welcome the one and only Mr. Tyler Mounce. Tyler, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Glad to be
Yes,
here.
sir. Yes, sir. Happy to have you. Now, to give the audience just some context as to like what you guys do and who you guys serve best, I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, sure. We specialize in kind of like one real specific go-to-market strategy, which is we do a paid social led kind of like inbound strategy, or like it's a kind of it's hard to call it inbound because it's not like your traditional opt-in campaigns, but basically we're taking lists of B2B contacts. We're targeting them with one-to-one, like targeted ads on Meta's ad platform. And then we're tracking engagement with the ads to trigger like an automated outreach on the back end. Where we're kind of moving is towards like a really full, like comprehensive B2B paid social system. So eventually we'll just basically be like, you want to go paid social for B2B, we'll do it across all the platforms.
Where did this idea come from? Because this is a very sophisticated approach. Yeah, but I'm sure you
Uh,
know that. But most people now with OpenAI or Meta's OpenAI, they just let that shit run and like the messaging is the targeting. But because you work with, pretty high end B2B clients and they sell really extensive high ticket packages, the OpenAI is probably not the best option for them, right?
You talking about like with running like the new Chat GPT ads, or just in general for like figuring out how to target people?
My mistake. When I'm saying OpenAI, I meant like open targeting on the
Oh, yeah,
ad
yeah, yeah.
level of
Oh,
Meta.
sure, yeah, yeah. Like letting the algorithm do the targeting with, yeah,
That part, yeah.
yeah. So um, I'll try to like. So there's two things which like led us to this point, which is kind of like my career arc, is that I came out of a consumer services world where I was the head of marketing for a brand, and we had a lot of experience running paid for B2C on Meta. So these are lead gen, because it's a service business. So it's lead gen, it's B2C, paid media, right? Google, Meta, stuff like that. Then when I started my agency, we kind of always had like a little bit of B2B and B2C going at the same time. Um, and then we got in with pretty early with a software called Clay, which
Yeah.
is, Clay. Yeah. So we were one of their first 100 solutions partners, or like first 100 like certified Clay experts. It was just kind of one of those things where like, right, like if you were early in the Shopify Meta days, or you were early in the HubSpot days, it's like you could build a whole business and just kind of ride the wave of this emerging technology. So I was like, we should focus a lot on Clay and we should focus a lot on B2B, because this is going to be a big deal. And so we did that. We did our share of cold email and different things like that, and sojourned through the lands of cold email. And this was around the time cold email was changing a lot. Also, too, there was a lot of people that were better at Clay than me and better at cold email than me. I was like, I didn't see us being like the top anything in that category. And also, this is when like ESPs were starting to shut down like email deliverability. You used to be able to rifle off stuff and get like 5% reply rates, right? And that was changing. And then so we did that. So we doubled down and we went all in on Clay. And then what ended up happening is like towards the kind of a call like late Q4, like late 2025, a few things happened. Was Clay started to shift and really focus on enterprise more so than agencies. So that kind of changed the shift in terms of like where we were getting, like we were like Clay experts were implementation partners, basically, not agency guys like me. And so, and then the second part of it was this technology, or like the capability to actually to target, like match B2B profiles across to consumer platforms like Meta. That was started to evolve. And so what ended up happening was we were like, it was kind of this like convergence of like my background in paid campaigns mixed with like what we learned about B2B data sourcing, like audience building, stuff like that in Clay, kind of merged into this one thing. And we're like, we should go all in on this. And so far it's been like pretty cool, because you see like Clay is even started to almost like mirror their own product offering around the kind of system we're building. Um, And so like they're focusing a lot on paid ad, like ad destinations and integrations with ad platforms and stuff. And then yeah. So, you know, long answer to your question, but it was kind of my mix of my background and what was happening on the landscape of technology at the same time. And again, to your point, like because of the way the platforms set up their native targeting is it's always been kind of bifurcated of like B2B, LinkedIn, B2C, Meta, TikTok, whatever else, kind of thing like that. Whereas like now, but the reality of it is Meta's a better ad platform. It has better engagement from its users. And so, and it has like obviously broader adoption. So, um, and realistically, like, I don't know. I mean, by and large, I mean, LinkedIn's more relevant than ever it has been in the past, but it's still not a lot of decision makers are active on LinkedIn, right? But most
Correct.
of them like are scrolling Instagram at some point. So from an awareness standpoint, you can get in front of B2B buyers a lot more easily now with paid social like that. So I'd see that kind of being a big shift in what we're focused on.
100%. I mean, as a founder, founder to founder here, do I have Instagram, Facebook? Of course. But like, am I doom scrolling a lot? No. But when I'm on the platform, am I getting served ads? Of course. So like, if I, like in the right moment in time, because I have and I'm scrolling Instagram way more than I'm ever scrolling LinkedIn. Like, if the ad is good, the message resonates, I'm absolutely going to click and figure out like, what does this dude talk about? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, yeah, and two things on that I think tie into like the whole premise of your show, right? Like high ticket sales, right? So, um, one is like I said, you're a founder. If someone is going to solve your problems, you do not care where and how they reached you.
Amen.
Right. Like, and to be fair, that's why cold email worked for a long time. Cause a lot of the typical like B2B outreach channels, cold calling, cold email, the whole premise was like, we're going to try and reach people where they don't want to be reached. We're going to invade their inbox. We're going to call their cell phone, blah, 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 whatever. And even though people didn't like it, it still works because the reality of it is if you got into a CEO's inbox and you could solve his problem, he would reply. Right? That was the thing. And to be fair, cold email is not dead. It's harder to pull off for most people, and it doesn't work for all businesses anymore.
It's
Um,
changed a lot,
but
like you said.
the difference is not that you can't. The difference is it's just the channels are getting shut down, right? Like now you have software like Fixer or even OpenClaw agents or just regular VAs. They're screening the inbox, so you never get through the decision maker. Apple released the thing to screen calls, right? So like just the ability to access people is like the Instagram feed is the one thing that there's no gatekeeper there, right? Like when you open it up, it's unadulterated. And then the second thing too is, like you're talking about like how do you make high ticket work on paid social, right? Like who's buying a 6-figure software contract or whatever that is. So like the thing is anything high ticket is typically longer sales cycle, almost always, right? You're not buying whether it's a car, like a luxury car or whatever, like those aren't impulse buys. So what we like about this is they say like it takes the 12 touch points or whatever it is to make a purchase, whatever things like we can front load a lot of that digitally. So by the time a sales rep ever gets on a call with somebody or an email goes out or whatever, like there can actually be brand recognition and brand recall because of a bunch of digital impressions.
It sounds
So
like you're describing content marketing and not like direct response copywriting, but I'll let you continue.
yeah, it's a little bit of a both and, right? So what ends up happening is right, like Meta doesn't like it, but we create these kind of niche targeted audiences, and so because we are creating the audience and we're not asking the algorithm or the targeting to develop it, CPMs are really cheap. So
Mm,
CPMs are low, which means impression volume can be high. So like we like this is crazy, like because typically you try to like um typically when you wanted to run B2B on Meta in the past, it was like an exercise in managing waste, right? Because you're just going to pump out money and you just got to hope that over time the algorithm starts to hone in on the right type of person because you've optimized the correct conversion events and blah, blah, blah. So like we're not doing any of that. So like B2B CPMs on Meta can be 50, 100, sometimes $200 depending on the product, right? We're getting CPMs of like 10 to 15 bucks and our audience size is 5 to 10,000 people. So if you do the math, like we're reaching these buyers 10 times a month for a few $100s. So what happens is, and we have this funky, like we call it the smash burger structure, like
okay.
smash. So like
Yeah.
smash burgers bun, and you smash the patty and it gets real wide and then it gets small again in the bun. And so what happens is we run a 3-tiered campaign structure on Meta, which is awareness, traffic, lead. And what we do is we box them in on the top and the bottom. So impression awareness is just impressions. And to your point, like that's content marketing.
Yes.
We're putting out like 5 different pieces of content, all focused on 5 different pain points that we know the buyer has, blah, blah, right? And we're saying only serve it to these few people. Not a big deal. So what happens is then they get like high impression volume, 8 to 12 impressions a month on that campaign for like $20, right? It's nothing. And then we allow for the algorithm to expand the audience slightly at the traffic layer because we want to drive clicks. And we call it clicks or confessions, meaning like whatever ad gets the click, we know that where that ad touches on a pain point that resonates with the audience. And then we narrow back in on best performing creative for the lead campaign. We say only target these people, and the lead optimization is going to serve based on when it thinks they're likely to convert. So that's kind of like how we do those things. But yeah, it's kind of like this weird mix of like content and direct response marketing at the same time. Because the reality of it is like if you have some niche service where there's only 5,000 companies in the country that can even buy your stuff, it doesn't make sense to invest in an organic like social media strategy, but you can pump content out to targeted buyers now via this method. So it's kind of a weird hybrid.
Absolutely. And like hats off to you for exploring this and like figuring this out. I learned that strategy. This dude named Jeremy Haynes, not sure if you know who that is at all, but he sells to massive TAMs, like
Sure.
preferably like Tony Robbins sized TAMs or like people that work in corporate, like hundreds of millions of motherfrickers. Like that's how big the hundreds of millions of people, right? You did the exact opposite, but it's the exact same strategy, bro. And because you don't have to spend $100,000 per month to reach
Sure.
your TAM, I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can get a cost per qualified call or at least shorten, condensed sales cycles much more rapidly than traditional B2B outbound LinkedIn, like organic content marketing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would think, I hope so. I mean, that's the goal. Um,
Right.
and I think too and again, it's like you understand this world. Like when you start talking about high ticket stuff versus like lower price point stuff, like it's like a different conversation, right? Because like the difference between my clients close 2 deals a year or 4 deals a year is, a 4x or an 8x ROI, right? Like that's like that's kind of like what we're talking about on these stuff. And so, um, yes, like, and that's the idea is like, and there's sort of like this style of marketing can be, it's almost like, like again, every business is a little bit different depending on what they sell, right? But like there's a version of this where the efficacy of our campaigns is more reflected in the conversion rate than the cost per lead, if that makes sense. Like, because what happens is like if you have a real niche product and especially the ones where like people all the time will get on a call with me. They'll be like, "Oh, we do this thing. We're the only one who does it. No one else does it." Blah blah stuff like this, and they're like, "I'm like, great. This is awesome. We're so good at this kind of stuff because we can get this message out to people." Like, so, what kind of results could we expect? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, has anyone else done this before? You just said you're the only one, and I'm like, and so, but there's an element. So, like, right, like if you've got kind of this one of one category, a lot of what you're doing is you're providing the air cover for the sales motion, right? And yeah, you want to book calls through and stuff like this, but also like there's a huge awareness piece of it, especially if like you're trying to create a category. And you see this a lot with a lot of AI enabled products, right? Is like people are using AI to do something new that hasn't been done before. It's like, well, cool. We have to sort of, but I don't remember where it was. I think it might've been like the 22 immutable laws of marketing or like one of those like old like marketing standards, right? It was like basically saying like the most expensive thing you can do is try and educate people via marketing. Do you mean like,
Ooh,
because like,
elaborate, talk to me.
Yeah, right. Because we all know attention spans dropping, like, like impression. I mean, just like the idea that you could actually, like, no one's going to sit down and watch your long form video, like, unless like that you have like a podcast different, like a following. But I'm saying like a product video, you're gonna be like, hey, I want to tell you all about this, thing. Like, no one is like, no one cares, right? And so,
Sure.
or like no one's can be bothered to like sit down and do that thing. I mean, you even see it with research, right? Like, and that's another thing too. Like part of the reason that I think we're moving towards this paid social category is like the buyer journey is changing big time, right? It's not like this linear funnel anymore. It's like they hear about something, they search it on a LLM, they pop over to like, Reddit to see if there's anyone who's chatted about it on threads. It's just this crazy non-linear journey. Um, and so the ability to reach people, the ability to explain yourself is like borderline non-existent, right? And so one of the values is like you have a niche or unique or complex service or product. Um, we can give you a lot of chances to tell it to your audience for super cheap, right? Because video impressions are cost us nothing.
Right. I have a couple of technical questions, if you don't mind, regarding the format of the funnel, like the ads funnel. So when it comes to content marketing, which is the top layer, right, the button, and then we have traffic in the center, and then we have like leads or conversion at the bottom. On the content piece up here, does Andromeda, the new update, affect you guys at all because you're so niche in who you're actually targeting to begin with?
Um, that's a great freaking question. What I would say is that so what Andromeda did largely, um, there's two things. One is they're using this thing called entity ID, which they don't tell you what it is. So what happens is in the past, you hear those guys that would like, um, they would like run like 20 variations of the same ad, and they would just like change the colors of shit, right? And the and what happens is the platform would you would it would be a it would be a legitimate test because the platform would like distribute like it would serve up it would like let you basically run a creative test, be like, oh, red buttons convert or whatever, like kind of thing, right? And so what happens now with Andromeda, and I don't know if this is just Andromeda, but like part of it is that they're using this thing called entity ID. So what happens is if the hook or the initial visual impression of the ad has, they call this squint test, like looks similar enough to another ad, they will get labeled the same entity ID, and it will not get the same level of distribution as as like net new creative. And so there's that. And no one really, and they don't tell you the entity ID, like no one really knows. You just like, you guess about it. But one of the reasons is we stratify it that way because what may or may not perform in one layer can perform in another layer because it can get a new entity ID compared to another one. So that's number one. Number two is what Andromeda has done is make the need for creative velocity really high. So what
Yes.
happens is like Andromeda has this like unending amount of compute. And so it's so hungry for all this creative, and they want net new creative, like hence the entity ID thing. Right. And so what was the thing is when we came in, like, so the thing is like we're not dealing with that as much because again, we're not relying so much on the algorithm for our targeting, but also too, like if we say, hey, we're going to serve, let's say we're spending $10 a day at a $10 CPM on a $5,000 audience. Well, we're serving an impression every 5 days. No, I don't remember. Or no,
Please.
sorry, we're serving two every 2.5 days or something like that, right? Like, so it's crazy. So our approach requires a large amount of creative velocity anyways. And so like by nature of like how, like, again, we're trying to, and that's part of the point is like, I'm trying to tell this person, like, and that's part of the, like your comment about the content marketing is like, because I know I can get in front of this person like 10 times in a month, 12 times in a month, I'm going to talk about this every different way I can. And you're familiar with like the stages of awareness thing, right? Like So the way we do it is like we identify which is driving traffic. We identify which pain point is resonating by the traffic level because that's driving the highest volume of clicks, and we get stupid cheap clicks like 35 cents a click or whatever. And so what we do from there though is then at the traffic level, then that creative is tied to a pain point. And then that pain point has different creative variations that match to the level of awareness. So if the pain point is, I don't have enough time, well, then what happens is at the awareness level, we do kind of pain point agitation, open-ended question type thing like that. And then at the lead level, we say, let us help you save more time kind of thing. And so you still follow that same structure as you move them through and each level is going to tie to the stages of awareness. And then the creative is going to mirror those pain points that we know are resonating, but at different stages.
That is such a marketing like secret sauce right there. Is I think people lack not lack the understanding or maybe like lack the ability or maybe they're just freaking lazy. But contextual marketing, personalized marketing, like sure, it might take an extra like week or like whatever, month max to actually personalize the marketing campaign. But if you front load all of the hard work over here, the results are like 10x better because how relevant it is. Like, oh, that's exactly how I felt. That's exactly how I think. Like, this is exactly for me. You know what I mean? Before I go off on a tangent there, I want to bring up something that you said that's pretty important. You said because we our buyers like pretty frequently, like 8 to 12 times per month. I'm not sure if you ever watch TV. I'm sure you don't, but like I love sports games. I love watching the Cubs. And like they hit me with the exact same ad. Every single commercial break, dude. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just dumb. Like what are there any other ads out there that we can like show, you know? And I don't think marketers that run meta ads or TikTok ads or whatever think about it the exact same way. Like if you only have one creator running, like don't you think your audience could be pissed off that that's the only ad that you're running, dude? Like they're gonna associate your brand with frustration. You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean?
So yeah, for sure. Yeah. And obviously like, it's funny you said it, like I think about it, like obviously one of the reasons that we were able to make the pivot from this kind of B2B world to this like, or like, outbound cold email to like paid is because we had creative development capabilities. And it's like, I can spin up new creatives super fast, right? Like I can do a creative refresh every month. So you see that 8 to 12 impressions, well, you're going to get a new 8 to 12 next month, right? And you might click it because it's the cream background and not the green background or whatever. Or you may just be in a different place than you were. And again, we're staying top of mind with these people. But yeah, I mean, you're right. TV, it's like you can't just spin up a new TV spot, right? Like these are like 6 month, 8 month long campaigns to develop like these, strategies or whatever. If it's proper, like cable TV or like, like premium network stuff. But yeah, so like I'm with you on that. And it's, the funny thing too is like sometimes we are that way. Like, and again, like obviously we try to mix it up. We had one person, like she actually picked up the phone and called one of our clients and was just saying like, hey, I don't like that I can't open my Instagram without seeing you everywhere. And I'm just like, and she's like, it's kind of disturbing, honestly. Like, I think you should stop. And like this is is a voicemail. My client forwarded me the voicemail, and he's like, and I'm like, well, first of all, hell yeah, that's working good then. And I was like, and she goes at the end of things, she goes, yeah. So, anyways, I think it's kind of disturbing. I don't like it. I am gonna check out your company though because it's interesting. she literally like confessed at the end. I was like, all right, so I think this means we're good.
Exactly. Yeah. Clearly, we're doing our job correctly. No, that's super badass. Getting back to what you said about the ability to spin up content, like almost like at light speed now. Are you using UGCs? Are you using AI avatars? Is it a person? Are you using? I assume you're using both static and video, but I'll let you have.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've built a pretty I know we're going to get to this. So I'll talk through my workflow when we talk about like what you're using AI, human in the loop kind of stuff in a little bit. We've built a pretty robust system from like, here's a new client to like, here's like ready to ship assets. And, it goes and it's a mixture of like AI driven or like skill driven. Like we use a lot of like Claude skills to like kind of like to like basically systematize the process to be able to spin up create like high quality creative at a high volume. Um, so what we do is in the beginning is we take what we know about the company. We use this super cool company called Octave, and they create these really awesome like company briefs based on the content that we feed in, whether it's marketing collateral, websites, content, blah blah blah. And then we take that and then we run this thing called our offers to ads scale, which is basically what it does is it takes the core offering and value proposition of the brand, and then it indexes all of the potential pain points. And then with all of those pain points, it creates ad hooks around those different pain points. And then we create like a matrix of like, so we have 20 hooks, 5 bodies, and 2 calls to action. And we create a compatibility matrix that is like, okay, well, now we have 46 combinations that work together. And so what happens is that matrix then feeds into, and then we have 6 formats that we develop creative in. So static images, carousels, motion graphics, talking head, commercial spots, and UGC. And so that matrix, so essentially, so your 42 combinations, well, that can then be 180 version pieces of content based on the different creative formats we can do it in. And then once we get into that, yeah, like we're not doing a lot of graphic design on our own. Like AI is doing a lot of like the statics and things like that. We are using AI generation for most of the UGC. We're not hiring actual creators. Talking head, we may have an actual founder we're working with that will get in front of a camera and do stuff, or we may be generating our own talking head stuff. It just depends on the scenario.
If you don't mind me saying this, okay, so what I've realized, because I used to run a paid ad agency, you and I actually kind of flip flopped. Now I do cold email because it's just fun. I get calls. I love it. But the problem for me back when I was running like a direct ad with like a VSO, like some back end selling content, is like the founder or the CEO was not like camera ready. You know, like they weren't a good
Yeah.
talking head. And it's like, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but like if you can't really talk on camera, like be confident on camera, like no one's clicking on your ad, dude. Like you're just not a good person like to follow, if that makes sense. So that was just one of the challenges that I faced. But the real question I want to ask you is for the AI or for the UGC, okay?
Okay.
Because they can be really, really realistic, be completely AI though. So like, are you using that type of software? Because I've been looking into it, dude. I'm like months away from like dialing that process in, but once I crack it, it's game over.
Yeah. So, I mean, so full transparency, like this isn't my wheelhouse. Like
Okay.
I joke with people like I'm a spreadsheet marketer. Like I don't like I look at data and tables and I'm like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Like, like I don't make pretty things. Like that's just not really like I have someone on my team. What I will say is I'll just plug a couple of things. Um so we have a she's a badass. Her name's Madison. So we've been Madison's an intern with us right now, and I basically just gave her access to like an online like AI video generation course, and I'll plug them because it's been pretty awesome for um it's been pretty awesome as far as like the so it's Daniel Riley's AI video boot camp.
I know the
They've got
guy, the name, yeah.
you know the name, yeah. So anyways, so like I just basically they've got a whole course on there and it's a school community and stuff like that. And I gave it to her and just said like let it rip, like do your thing. Because we were having the same kind of things. Like there were certain types of videos that we couldn't do real well, character consistency, blah, 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 that stuff like that. And she's been just going through it and just producing super awesome stuff. So I think like that. So like she's brought a lot in terms of our capabilities to like do high quality stuff that way. And then, we've invested in a lot of different tools for like getting like better quality stuff on that. So I'm with
Going,
you.
no, thanks for the insights there. Getting back to like the skills and the automation process you have in place, how frequently or when does the human in the loop like become active for you guys there? Do you feel like after doing this dozens and dozens of hundreds of times with different clients that the all the skills that you have are pretty dialed in? You don't really need a human in the loop for this, or do you still want to verify that because it's fucking AI, right? AI is doing its job and like the output's actually high quality.
Yeah. So I mean, I have lots of thoughts on this. So there's a couple of things. A lot of times, this is Tyler's opinion. So for the little that it's worth, let's just be clear that that this is from no respectable source. There's a lot of there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff out there that's like, whether it's AI copywriting or like strategy or whatever, where it's like there's this and I do this, right? Like I have an Obsidian vault that has a bunch of context, and so like like people call it like your second brain. So it basically gets your AI to act and think kind of like you. And so this idea was like, we can't have AI to do this stuff because it can't think like me or can't act like me or do what I would do. And again, I don't think that's why we need humans in the loop. I think we need humans in the loop because I know when I'm not going to act the way I normally do. Because what happens is like I have an operating pattern, but I have this judgment and this intuitive layer of like, this is how I normally do it, but I'm not going to do it that time because this is different. And that's where like I can get AI to act and think and behave like me, but what I can't do is get it to have the level of judgment that makes me pause and think I'm going to take a different course.
Amen.
So that's why I like, so again, this is, I think we had talked about getting to this, when we were prepping for this call, is like, I have the way that we do it is I diagrammed the whole workflow, right? Like think Miro board, whatever you want to like use, mermaid flow charts, right? So it's like new client, we've got these 2 branches. Here's all these 6 steps, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And then published campaigns. Right. So, and again, this is Tyler's hypothesis. Take it for what it's worth. I go to each step in the node or each node in the workflow or whatever, each step. And I go, does this need to be human? Does this need to be human in the loop, or can this be fully automated? And then what I do is for each one, and then in general, when you say like, so then that's step 1. So you're like, cool, I've got 10 steps. 2 are human only, 3 are human in the loop, 5 can be fully automated. And then you have then the mechanics is, well, if it's a human only, it's an SOP. Is it human in the loop? It's a Claude scale. Is it fully automated? Then it's either a workflow or an agent. And like that kind of like creates the governing framework for when and how you automate and streamline your work, because that keeps you from automating stuff you shouldn't. And it keeps you from spending time on stuff that you don't need to. At least that's kind of my thought. So like, again, we go through, it's kind of like my version of like the Eisenhower matrix is like, human in the loop, cool, as a scale this, and we delegate it out that way.
For us internally, like from the onboarding process, like Slack, campaign setup, anything that's like super easy to do, like that's all automated or an agent can do that. But when it comes to like the copy, I'm like writing the emails, like coming up with the best offer, positioning the marketplace. Like AI can help us think about that stuff, but I'm definitely getting final say. Like there's no effing way I'm gonna just let AI rip some copy that's gonna get
Yeah,
blasted
sure.
out to these people. You know what I mean?
And I think that too, like, and again, I think knowing when to act out of character is like, again, there's these guys, like there's this one guy I follow on Instagram, and he's just a creator that makes just his stuff's just unhinged. Like it's so funny and like random. And I'm like, dude, this guy is safe because there's no predictable pattern that you could ever do to replicate what he's doing. Like his shit is not running. His whatever's up there is not fastened down. Like, and so what I have this conversation, I feel like all the time is like, people don't understand that LLMs by nature trend towards the average, right? Like you're feeding in millions, billions of data points, and it is acting in predictive patterns. So this is Tyler. Again, I'm like giving you all my takes or whatever, but I just want people to know I'm like, I don't want people to be like, oh, Tyler said it. It's like, yeah, well, you should just should get better advice. So like in the past, right? Let's use marketing agents because I'm a marketing agent. We do marketing, right? Like let's use this as a thing. So you have a spectrum. There's the savants, right? They're just out of this world good. Then there's the really good ones. Then there's the good ones. Then there's the pretty good ones. Then there's the average. Then there's the slightly below average. There was this really like it's like this kind of like broad spectrum, and you could kind of choose your adventure, right? Like depending on who you hire, or at least you hope you're choosing, or you think you're getting this. But what happens is, what I think is going to happen now is everything that's not out of this world is going to go like this. It's going to collapse to the middle. AI is going to make the people who suck better, and it's going to make the people who are pretty good worse, because everyone's going to do the same things. And again, you can be like, because again, it's not going to know when to pattern interrupt because it operates on patterns. And so we're going to get this really homogenous thing. It was like, remember when everyone started having ChatGPT write their LinkedIn posts? It was just
Right.
like M dashes everywhere. Everyone's like, cold email's dead, or, I unlocked blah, blah, blah. Like, it was all the same thing as everyone's like, oh, dude, it's weird. Everyone writes the same way now. And so, like, again, I think that there's going to be this engine where, like, the gap between the best and the next best is going to get broader, and the gap between the really good and the terrible is going to get narrower.
Interesting. So how do you feel like you combat that? Being like, if you already have, how do you combat?
That's that judgment. I think you make the right judgment call on is this human in the loop, or automated, right? Like, some people will say, well, this is automated. And I might say, I don't think so, right? Like, someone's going to be like, one of the things that with Clay, right, was like, everyone was being like, here's the company, here's the target, here's the blah, 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 ChatGPT, write the email. And it was just, and at that point, like, the variance that you got, the deliverability boost you got in varied email copy from AI generation was worth the trade-off and the shittiness. But like, that doesn't work that way anymore. But like, at least that I don't think. But so what ended up happening though is we said, hey, we're going to have AI do this thing. And people who were crushing it were like, I'm not going to let AI do that thing. I'm going to do the other thing. And so some of that becomes like, if you follow my theory of like, you delegate human in the loop, or fully automated, some people will make mistakes based on the wrong diagnosis.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is going to sound however it sounds. If you're not good, simply put, if you're not good and you use AI, by default, your skills become better. But
Yeah,
if
sure.
you're like actually like the guy in your space, and you actually know kind of what's going on, and you kind of use AI, or like use AI as a crutch for your work, it's almost like you're shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I mean? Instead of like taking the time, like, I guess, like, think everything through, like, no, don't be lazy and like figure it out, because you're better than AI in this like one or two areas in this example, right? But if
Yeah,
you,
for sure.
and maybe I'm like talking to myself about this sometimes, maybe, I don't know, but like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm bad at what I do. Like, if
He's
I
like, I
was
don't want to
bad,
do any of this myself anymore.
AI take it over. No, I'm kidding. But like, sometimes, anyways, yeah, like, I think like in your case, right? Like, you, with your experience, with your background in B2C marketing over into enterprise sales now, like, you know what's going to work and what's not going to work, right? So if you ask AI, hey AI, like, do you think this is going to work? Or like, how would you rewrite this? It's going to write to the average baseline. But you know, in your world, that your average is like up here, but AI's average is like down here, you know? But like you said, if you suck, right? Hey AI, write me an ad copy. It will shoot you up to here. Does that kind of make sense at
Yeah,
all?
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like, again, I think there will be people who improve by using AI, and rapid adoption of it will improve and the thing is like, right, like, some portion of our day needs to go to upskilling. Like, we need to grow. We need to become better as marketers, as human, like, whatever you do, right? Like, you need to, like, if all you ever do is spend your 8 hours or your 10 hours or your 22 hours or whatever it is, like, doing the work and not like stepping back and improving the capability to do the work, like, again, you stagnate and stuff like that. So what I think, for a lot of people that, like, again, my guess is most people don't be like, I suck, I should use AI. Like, most people like, but in if you're in that category where, like, you need the help, like, the quality improves through using AI. If nothing else, what you hopefully then will do is you'll be able to use the efficiency gains of having AI support your work to then upscale and become better. And then, to the flip side of the guy who's like, I think there's a real danger in the thing is like, and again, I'm looking at this from a lens that involves a lot of creativity, because we're, a paid ad agency. We're doing social, like, we have content, like, these are visual things. They're very creative things. And like, I think like the idea of, like, I think inherent in the definition of creativity is the idea of uniqueness. And so by like doing what everyone else is doing, you're sort of like, if my guess is these guys that are up there, like they, so, I mean, it's not one of those things like, it's not that different than what we used to do when we would do competitive research and then be like, oh, all these other brands in our space are saying this, we're going to say something different, right? Like it's not like this concept is not novel. And so like these people, like some people like write me the ad copy so that I know what to say. Other guys are gonna be like, write me the ad copy so I know what not to say because I know everyone else is gonna say that same shit, right?
Yes. I learned this from one of my mentors. I was like 19, 20 years old selling solar. And like whenever you're trying to get
Selling solar, dude,
yeah,
you're a grinder, brother.
you have no idea, bro. Like but I also love that energy though. Like banging on the doors of caveman, like hitting the phones. Like I have ADHD again, so like that high pressure, not high pressure sales environment, like high energy sales environment. I freaking
Yeah,
love it. But essentially, we were trying to figure out how to get through the intro, like how to get past like the first 2 seconds of the door, or how to get past the first 2 seconds of the phone call, right? And my mentor said, like, if you want to be different in the market, all you have to do, guys, is just look at what everybody else is doing and don't do that. Like, it's really not that freaking hard. And that has stuck with me since, like, 19, 20-year-old kid into my marketing agency. And I'm like, that advice is still so fucking applicable, dude. Like, it still works. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. I mean, pattern interrupts. Like, wait, like our brains are wired to like no, like look for patterns, and when there's a pattern interrupt, like it's like, um, yeah, dude. I mean, the same thing. Like you hear about like cold calling hooks and all this stuff. Like, um, all that stuff is like, yeah. I mean, and also too, like in an era where communication is becoming less human, there's a real opportunity to be more human.
I was just gonna say that, like, nowadays with a written copy, I think 90% of people just chalk it up like, oh, AI wrote that, but they can't replicate this. Like
Yeah,
AI, I mean, sure, like AI avatars, whatever, like fuck you, but like they can't replicate this conversation here. So the more video content, the more authentic you are, people buy into that and trust that significantly more now than ever before in my
yeah. I mean, to be fair, like there's a whole. I mean, you're right. Like trust is an asset now, right? Like that's why creators are like, you know, like I think Theo Vaughn is like a fascinating dude because
love
I'm
that
like
fucking guy.
he's awesome, right? And like people love him, people trust him. Like he's like it's kind of like this, like they gravitate towards it, like well I don't know what else, I don't know what's real anymore, but Theo Vaughn's real, and it's like and so and I use that as an example, but again like we do a lot on in terms of creating content because like I know that like trust is this and credibility is this asset and that can't be fabricated no matter what. Like, and sure, there will be these people who like, there'll be like the AI avatars that have their million followers and they're pumping out content, or whatever. Like, but those are going to be unusual and those are going to be hard. And it's going to be hard. They're going to be moonshots that won't be able to be repeated. And so, yeah, I mean, like, again, organic content, video content, community based stuff. Like, one of the things too is like, I'm like, I work with I've done some work with a guy named Samu, who is he's got an amazing YouTube agency for B2B. And I mean, he's the man, like all his clients are crushing it. And it's like, he's kind of cracked the code on like, how do you build this audience that comes back to you because you're a trusted source and they know that they're going to get real authentic stuff from you. And like I said, like, I mean, and I'm like, I mean, if I was going to start something today, like that might be maybe an area I'd focus on as an agency because you're like, man, like that right now is like the best frontier for developing like this audience, right? Like it used to be like your Instagram followers, but that doesn't matter anymore. And like, but is your YouTube channel is like, that's still a thing, right? Or your LinkedIn, following and stuff like that. Like there are people who will turn on post notifications for you on LinkedIn because they like what you have to say. So yeah, I mean, 100%. Like again, we do ads and our thing is like, again, we're doing creative velocity. But the funny thing too, though, and so I'm rambling a little bit, but I love this topic.
You're
And
good.
so is right. Like when brands were pumping all this money into highly produced content, UGC started crushing it. because they didn't want to see another produced commercial, another fake thing. They wanted to see real people, selfie style, phone out, tapping the things, right? And then what did AI come for first? Was UGC.
People.
And so what we're seeing is, what's crazy? What is doing really well? Static image ads.
Are you familiar with this concept of pendulum swing in marketing?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
And that's exactly what the fuck you're witnessing with static ads, bro.
We had a client and we were working with them from like early 24 through like late 20. So 2 years, right? So it's like roughly 2 years, like 24 and 25. And in the beginning, we come on with them. We're like, people don't want this. Like they're talking like, don't hire the videographer, get out a freaking cell phone, talk to people, stuff like that. And then like halfway through, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, we need to get a videographer. He's like, I thought the organic stuff was working. And I was just like, it did. But then like AI, it's like, but now everybody sees like, oh my gosh, guys, I just tried this new pen. And it's like, they just assume it's not real anymore. And so, yeah, I mean, for sure, we're like, the thing is crazy is the pendulum has always swung. The difference now is it swings way faster because of AI, right? Like the spaces that are open get crowded faster because the ability to adopt and adapt is like never before.
No, for sure. Tyler, I wish we had more freaking time, bro. I feel like I would love to invite you back on in like 6 to 12 months to, talk.
Sure, yeah, let's do it for sure.
What can I find you?
Yeah, so I'm most active on LinkedIn, at least as far as social goes. Tyler Mounce, Mounce. And then our website is amplis.co, amplis.co. Probably easiest.
Awesome. We'll always leave it in the show notes for you. But again, Tyler, thank you so much.
Yeah, man,
Audience.
it's a fun one. I like it. Thanks, Jordan.
Yes, sir.